Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. It depends to where you are. It is a day of a wonderful truth. We're going to reveal in this subject or this lesson. We're going to navigate into something that going to make you get a new perspective on how or in which the things are being done. Now, the main purpose of this subject is to make the word practical, to reveal the glory of the Lord. The word of God is practical, but the teaching or the way that men approached it, it made us to find ourselves running into theories, and we got up ourselves in a position of not really understanding that the word of God is life, it's everyday life, it's practical. You know, we developed a lot of theories, but whatever theory being developed, all theories follow under two categories. Category number one, science. Category number two, history. We have science, we have history. We have God here in between. And so, my purpose now, wherever you are in different continents, call me your chief hustle. But at this particular juncture, of course, call me professor. No problem. Now, why? I need to make the word practical to reveal the glory of God. So, how many languages do we have on the planet? Data shows that we almost have 700 billion languages, and other languages are still coming. Now, I have a book. I wrote a book. My first book is called "The God of My Language." Now, every language on this planet is equal. No language is superior than other language. That is the point to understand. And so, every language is a tool that given to man to help him communicate the treasure within himself and identify himself with other languages. Meaning like that a language is a tool of man, but also a brand of man. Now, it is man's responsibility, to connect with the author of thoughts, who is the giver of names, to help him receive the thought, but process the thought. It is within the language, which reveals the power of thoughts within man himself. Now, God created man, but man named God. For example, every man who got a child on this universe, which is physical resurrection, by the way, every man who got a child, the child named that man the first name called Papa. 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 Every child, north, east, west, despite of geography and different continents, North America, South America, Australia, Asia, Africa, and Europe, all 6 continents, A child is a child. A child girl is a child girl. A child boy is a child boy. And the first word is to name Papa. So a man has got a baby, created a baby through the protocol of God himself. Now the child is naming this man Papa. So man is co-creator of God. Co-creator of God. Man is co-creator of God. Okay. Now we have God. We have science. We have God here. We have science here. We have God here. We have history here. Under history, we have what you call realities of man. Under science here, we have what we call factism of man. These are two pillars of man. Okay. Now, the only thing on this earth to nullify the factism of man and the realitism of man is the truth, who is God himself here. God himself. Now, my purpose today, ladies and gentlemen, is I believe I want to talk with people who believes in science. Okay? Believes in science and history. Because realitism and the factism of man are two most powerful pillars that man operates under to reveal the glory of the truth with God himself, or to nullify the existence of the truth, who is God himself. Therefore, it is only the power of the truth that is positioned to nullify the realitism of man and the factism of man. That's why the truth with God himself here has no questions to science, neither questions to history. But history students and science students have a lot of questions against the truth. That's the difference. Now, a language is a tool, is the most powerful tool that's given to man. Okay? To man, exploit, invent, and discoveries in the realm of science and the realm of history, where we find a lot of discoveries, like the Semitic, historically speaking, when you visit the history, BCE, we call it before the Common Era, and after the Common Era, to have that opportunity of keeping modifying stuff. So the Semitic group in Asia Minor formulated a wonderful alphabets. We call it A to Z. These are 26 letters, but also discovered something very interesting called digits from 0 to 8 to 9 numbers. So we can make the word into numbers or numbers into words. In other words, we can change letters into numbers, digits, or we can change digits into numbers. We can transform them because we have the resources. And I salute the old scholars who came before and the researchers who came before in different schools of thought. Salute, man, you did the job. Now, my job now is to discover something that which is already exists, something that we have already have in our hand. You know, God spoke to Moses when Moses was confused. Moses, a child of Levites from the tribe of Israel. Now, he told him, what do you have in your hand? And Moses realized that he's holding a stick. Let me use that word speak for the purpose. Then he said, now this is what's going to happen. Lay it down. Something happened. Now, I'm not going to create anything, but I'm going to reveal something in what you have. Now, I want to speak to you today. So, man is a product of God. God created man. But man named God. Man gave God a name. The tool to name God is the language of man. Meaning, it is in human strategy to try his best to connect with his creator. So man, the language of man tried to name God, depending on the relationship, evaluation, all patterns. Now, tonight, I'm gonna just deal with only Hebrew language. Hebrew language. Hebrew language helped us to understand that God is called Elohim. 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 Now, I'm going to also deal with English language. English language helped us to understand that God is called God. Okay? God. Then, Kinyarwanda language. Kinyarwanda language. Kinyarwanda helped us to know that the creator of heaven is called Imana. Imana. Okay? It's called Imana. Then we go here, we see Swahili. Swahili helped us to know that the creator of heaven and the earth is called Mungu. Mungu. Okay? It's called the Mungu. Right. Now, Hebrew, another language is Arabic. Arabic helped us to know that the creator of heaven and the earth is called Allah. Allah. Right. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a beautiful lesson. Now, we're gonna navigate and see from the alphabet we have in existence, because we all agree that the numbers we have are real from the first century, because we are in a generation of Jesus Christ. Now we experience the life of increase. That is why we don't count in a context of minus. We count in a context of plus, meaning we are living in a life of increase, not a life of decrease. We left that generation of decrease. We are now in a generation of increase, a generation of Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm using Jesus Christ right now because it's English. I'm speaking English, but I'm gonna visit every word from every language. So Hebrew told us that the creator of heaven and the earth, is called Elohim. That means the word Elohim from Hebrew language must reflect the law of nature. The law of nature. The law of nature. That is Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. God created heaven. Created heaven and earth. Created heaven and earth. We have the scale of creation, which is number 2. So 2 is the code of Genesis 1. Genesis 1, verse 1. So Hebrew language told us that Genesis 1, verse 1, the God that created heaven and earth, which is revealed in the law of nature, that we find it in Genesis 1 and 1, we see a scale of creation, a scale of measurement. The law of nature, the creation language reveals two, heaven and earth. Heaven and earth, meaning that two is the code of God's creation. Genesis 1, 2 is the code. And two, we see it in our deeds, we have it. And in a letter, we're gonna prove it in the letter. When we go here on Elohim, that means the name that Hebrew language gave us must prove the code of the creation. Meaning that Elohim has to prove a code of creation, which is number 2. Then, how do you prove this? We go on our alphabet. We have 26 alphabets. We pick the word Elohim from the alphabet. Then we mathematically now, we go into Elohim. We replace every letter with every D. We get, what do we get? In the word of Elohim, we get 62. We get 62. Elohim, we get 62. 62 is not a dig. We need to get a simple dig. We increase this by plus n. Then we get 8. We get 8. We get number 8. So Elohim equals 8, which is not reflecting the law, the language of law, or the law of nature, which is Genesis 1, 1. Heaven and earth, 2 scale, 2 measurement. Woman, man. Water, land. Space, ground. Moon, sun. Upper hair, down hair. Left, right. So, that means every language should provide a name for the creator that reflects a language that proves science of man and the history of man. And so number 8 doesn't prove science, neither history. It is a subsidiary number that is found in the cultural context of man. And the culture is not a gift from God, neither. Therefore, Elohim is not proving Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, meaning that this God called Elohim is not the God that we see in the law of nature that reflects Genesis number 1, verse 1. That is Hebrew. Now we go on God. When you go on God, God here, it takes us to God is English. English language helped us to know that the creator of heaven and the earth, creator of heaven and the earth. I'm dealing with Bible now. Bible. I have Bible here, I have Quran here. And I'm speaking on languages. I'm not speaking the participants of the language. Because no man created a language. A language is a tool, is a gift given to man. So a language doesn't belong to man. Man is a participant of a language. Because a language is an idol of man. And every man serves a language. Now, I'm starting now explaining what my book is all about. What my book is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, we have English here. In English told us that the creator of heaven and the earth, the one we see him in Genesis 1, verse 1, creating heaven and the earth, and everything follows on scale principle. We cycle to principle, or in philosophy we call it philosophical principle of number 2. That is a law of nature. So English told us that God, the creator of heaven and earth is God. When we prove this one, we go on alphabet. We make the letter digits. We get number 8. On God, we get number 8. Digit number 8. Digit number 8, which is exactly the covenantal equilibrium with Elohim. So Elohim and God, they have the same code. The same code. But this code is not reflecting the law of nature. This code is reflecting the cultural arrangement. It is born, it is within the existence of philosophical essence of man. Philosophical essence of man. And the human culture is not a gift of God. Meaning that every language has to contribute a name of God or a name of Papa. And that name has to reflect the language of Papa. And the language of Papa is the law of nature, which reveals or granted man to experience what we call realities of man, that is history, and the baptism of man, that is life, which is the strongest pillars that man drives life on. Right, gentlemen, now we have seen God. Now we go here to Kinyarwanda language. Kinyarwanda language helped us to know that the creator of heaven and earth is Imana. Now, let me know if in your language, I'm using Hebrew, English, Kinyarwanda, Swahili, and Arabic. Now, let me know in your language, how do you call the creator of heaven and earth in your own language? And prove it by using alphabet. The sources we have it here. We have 26 of them. But you have to make sure if you get a lot of numbers in between, you must, that number, you have to add them and get the digit. You have to get 1 because digit is from 0 to 9. You can't get more than that. Then use that. That remaining one you get a single digit is a code of your language. Okay, it's the code of your language. And it reveals the law of nature, the language of God, in the realm of human operations in this world, the physical world that is measured and calculated by time scale philosophy. Right, gentlemen, we have Kinyarwanda here. Kinyarwanda language, and let me know if your language, God is called Imana. Imana, when you come here, Imana in Kinyarwanda, you see, you go straight on alphabet. We have 27. And what you're gonna get code 2. Add them, replace the number. You know, if you went to school and you dealt with science, call them trigonometry, where you find X and Y. In this context, I'm not applying physics or mathematics. No, I'm applying what we call, if you study organic chemistry, you understand. If you study mathematics, you understand. But I combine all those stuff. Anything correlated with factism is under a category of science, and anything correlated with realitism follow under a category of history. Therefore, we have history, we have science, we have truth, reality, facts, and truth. Okay, now, Imana, which is a Kinyarwanda named God, the creator of heaven and earth. God created heaven and earth. Genesis chapter 1. Then replace the word Imana, replace letters with digits. You're gonna get 11. 11, you increase by putting a clause in between. You get 2. That is a code of Imana. A code of Imana. So this name that Kinyarwanda language gave us proves, reflects the language of God, the law of nature, the law of nature. Heaven and earth, two chords. God created the world on two philosophical scale or measurement, or you call it law of nature. It depends which school you went in. But I'm telling you here, now Kinyarwanda here is winning. Kinyarwanda is winning here. The code that reflects the language of law of nature is the name that Kinyarwanda gave to the God who created heaven and earth. Imana. Imana equals two. Two reflects Genesis 1 and verse 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Now, here, Kinyarwanda got a tick. Got a tick. Now, according to Kinyarwanda language, now I know that the God of the Bible reflects the name that Kinyarwanda gave him, because it reveals the language that God used to bless man with this beautiful realm, which is heaven and earth, water, land, woman, man, in all creations. Kinyarwanda got a tick here. Now, when you go here to Swahili, what do we get? Swahili language, and Swahili language, God is called the moon. Moon is called the moon. It's here. It's called the moon. When we replace the word moon with letters, what do we get? With letters, what do we get? We get 6. We get 6. We get 6. Okay? When we get the word moon, the code of moon is 6. How do you get 6 here? Visit our alphabet. You can use it in your, you can get it. Visit our alphabet. Then replace the word moon with numbers. You're gonna get something called 15 there. You can't get that dict, it's not there. There's no dict there. Then make it a dict to get to change a letter onto a number. You're gonna get code 6. Now 6, number 6 here, Swahili language, the code of Swahili language to God is number 6. The code of English language to God is number 8. The code of Hebrew, the name of God is number 8. So number 8, number 6, number 8 for English, number 8 for Hebrew, and number 6 for Swahili. These are numbers, we know them in the Bible. These are dicts, we know them in the Bible. And we know what they present. We have no problem with that one. But we are still want to prove before we interpret the subsidiaries. We want to deal with verbs. We want to make sure that we get to know all the languages that called God Imana. I want to meet you in comment section. List all the languages that you know that calls the Creator of heaven and the earth Imana. Those languages revealed the most nearest name to the true God who created heaven and earth. Why? The law of nature supports it. The law, glory to God. The law of nature supports it. Supports it. Oh, give him praise. The law of nature supports it. Now, let me conclude with the word Arabic. Arabic, a language called Arabic. Okay, I don't want to have problem with Hebrew, with Rwandans, with Englishmen. No, I'm dealing with English. as an idea, a language as an idea, a language as a tool given to a participant. A participant is man. Participant is man. That is why you don't need to speak English to be an Englishman. You don't need to speak Kinyarwanda to be a Kinyarwanda man. I speak a lot of languages. And I'm doing this lecture for the benefit of understanding which language really speaks or creates a theory that reflects the law of the law of nature. The law of nature. This can help you understand that there is God, man created, and there is God who created man. And those two gods are being served. At the end of the day, you will discover something that you have never had before. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, in different continents. Let me conclude with Arabic as a language. We have Arabic here as a language. Arabic helped us to understand that God who created heaven and earth is called Allah. Is called Allah. Allah. Language Hebrew helped us to know that God who created heaven and earth is called Allah. The code of Allah is number 7. Is 7. Is 7. So today I stop here. Number 7 doesn't reflect the language of nature, meaning it is not supported by the law of nature. So, in conclusion, therefore, Hebrew language named God the creator of heaven and him. This theory is not supported by the law of nature. Law of nature is not supporting this theory. English told us that the creator of heaven and earth, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, is God. This theory is not supported by the law of nature. Kinyarwanda said the creator of heaven and earth is called Imana. Imana. This theory is supported by the law of nature. By the law of nature. The nature supports this theory. Then Swahili helped us to know that the creator of heaven and the earth is called the moon. This theory is not supported by the law of nature. Meaning the realitism of man and the factism of man doesn't support this. Therefore, the truth nullifies everything. So, Arabic said Allah. Allah, the code is 7. It's not supported by the law of nature. How do I know that? Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. God created heaven and the earth. Anything ahead has to be exercised, practiced in the due process when existence is already exists. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I have dealt with Hebrew, English, Kinyarwanda, Swahili, and Arabic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 languages. Only discussing on a name that this language gave us. The name that this language gives us. Every name has a code. And every code must reflect the law or supported by the law of nature. Because the law of nature doesn't need proof. That is the truth. That is the big truth. So, realitism of man and the factism of man has no say. Because the truth doesn't need evidence. We don't need evidence to prove heaven and earth. The code is true. Nyarwanda got it well. Got it well. That is the end of the day. Next episode, I'm coming with you, revealing something great that you have never heard before. Today we discussed only the name of God. The name of God. How do you make this, the word, practical to reveal the glory of the Lord? Every idea matters. Every language matters. And every story matters. Therefore, every idea is unique and independent. Every language is unique and independent and qualified to reveal who God is in its fullness. That is why our history is different. Okay? Our history is different. And therefore, no science, no history should be resonated, explain another history or another science. My question to you, wherever you are, before you drop in comment section, and allow me to see how you call God in your own language and prove it. If you get caught, prove. Then the law of nature will be in support with the name that your language gave you. If you get something else, the law of nature is against the name that you gave the Creator of heaven and the earth. And that is why we have a God created by man, and they have God created man. My question to you, which God are you serving? Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Chief Hustler, and that is the end of our topic tonight. May God bless you. See you in next time.